Hi there, welcome back. Today in DaVinci Resolve 17, I will show you how to create a generator macro template with Fusion Shape tools and use it in the edit page. With almost all the shape nodes included in this generator, it's easy to add basic shapes to the timeline or create some cool shape effects for your videos without going to the Fusion page. Okay. Here in the Effects panel, I already have the generator, Essential Shapes, created for use in the Edit page. Drag to the timeline, and we have a default square shape filled with white color, and a border in orange color. Go to the inspector, there are a few tabs with settings that we can use to adjust the shape effects. The first tab is where we control the shape type, style, size, position and the color. In the shape type drop-down list, there are 4 types that we can choose from: rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and star. For polygon and star shapes, there are a couple of parameters for additional settings. Polygon sides set the number of sides of a polygon. Star points define the number of points for a star shape. And the star depth controls how far the inner points are from the outer points. To change the shape position, we can adjust X and Y offset parameters. When the Fusion overlay is turned on, we can also change the X and Y offset using the on-screen controls. Drag the center point to change both X and Y values. Or drag one of the arrows to change either X or Y offset. Use the width and height parameter to change the shape size. Change the angle parameter to rotate the shape if needed. The Fusion on-screen controls also allow us to rotate the shape. The last set of parameters inside the first tab are used to control the shape color. If we just need the shape outline, we can change the fill color to transparent by setting all RGB and alpha channels to 0. The second tab, border, is used to control shape outlines, such as the color, thickness and line style. If needed, we can keyframe the position and length parameters to animate the outline. For example, at the beginning of the clip, set a keyframe with length equals to 0. And set another keyframe at the end of the clip, with length equals to 1. If we shorten the length, and keyframe the position parameter, we can have a moving outline animation effect, something like this. In the Duplicate tab, we can create multiple copies of the main shape. Set the number of copies to define how many copies we need. And use other parameters to control how we want to position, size and rotate the copies on the screen. We can also keyframe these parameters to create shape animations if needed. For example, keyframing the rotation parameter can make some circling animation like this. In the Grid tab, we can replicate the main shape into a grid and control how the rows and columns are offsetted. The shape copies created from the Duplicate tab can be also used as the input of the grid. For example, we can make something like this. In the Jitter tab, we can randomly position or size the shapes we have on the screen, either a single shape or an array of shapes generated through a duplicate or grid process. There are 2 jitter modes we can choose from. The fixed mode allows us to set static position or size offset, and animate the shapes with keyframes on other parameters. For example, we set the offset ranges for position, size and rotation. And go to the Controls tab, keyframe the X offset. We got some cool animations like this. When we set the jitter mode to random, it will auto-animate the shapes on screen, randomly position, rotate or size them based on the ranges defined by the offset parameters. You may find some results you like for your next videos. For example, this could be a useful effect. The last tab is Soft Glow. It has all parameters of the Fusion Soft Glow node. We can adjust the parameters to apply a glowing effect on the shapes. By default, the gain is set to 0, which basically disables the glowing effect. If needed, increase the gain value and adjust other parameters to set the glowing effect to our liking. If we unlock the glow size X and Y control, we can get an effect similar to light rays. To have multiple different shapes appearing on the screen at the same time, we can stack up multiple shape clips. Or we can use the shapes as alpha mats to mask out images. I have another video about using mats in the edit page. You can check that out if you're interested. Alright, we've spent some time exploring the usage of this essential shapes generator. You can download the template using the links in the description below and try it out for yourself. Next, we will quickly go through the steps of creating this template in the Fusion page. From the Effects panel, add a Fusion composition clip to the timeline. Open it in the Fusion page. Add a background node to the editor. Connect to the Media Out node. Set the background to transparent by setting alpha to 0. Go to the Effects panel and open the Shape page. Add S-Rectangle and S-Render node to the editor. Merge the render node with the background so that the shape is rendered to the final output. Select the Rectangle node. Go to the inspector and set both width and height to 0.2. While the Rectangle node is still selected, click the S-Boolean button in the Effect panel to add a S-Boolean node to the node tree. Press F2 to rename the Boolean node to Shape Color. We will use this node to control the main color of the shape. We notice that the rectangle disappeared in the viewer because the S-Boolean node requires 2 inputs to return a Boolean result. Hold Alt key and click the connection line to add a pipe router. Drag the pipe router's output and connect to the Shape Color node. In this case, we use the same shape as both inputs of the Boolean node and keep the default Boolean operation, intersection. The result will still be the input shape. The rectangle is now appearing back in the viewer. Add another S-Boolean node from the Effect panel to the editor. Connect the pipe router to both inputs of the Boolean node. Rename it to Border Color, which will be used to control the shape outline color. With Border Color selected, click the S-Outline button in the Effects panel to add a Shape Outline node. Rename the node to Shape Border. Merge the shape border with the Shape Colors output. This automatically adds a S-Merge node to the node tree. Select the Border Color node and go to the Style tab in the inspector. Change the color to orange. Select the Shape Border node and change the border style to mitre. I like outlines with sharp corners. Select the S-Merge node and go to the Effects panel. Click S-Duplicate button, S-Grid button, and S-Jitter button to add them to the node process tree. We want to have all the functionalities of Fusion Shape tools included in our final generator template. Select S-Grid node and set both grid cells X and Y to 1 so that the grid is disabled by default. Select all the shape nodes between the S-Rectangle node and the Merge node. Press Ctrl G to group the selected nodes. Rename the group to Shape Process. Great, we now have done the rectangle shape and the shape processing group. Next, we will reuse the process group for other shapes. From the Effects panel, drag S-ellipse, S-engine and S-star to the node editor. Select the Shape Process group, and press Ctrl-C to make a copy. Press Ctrl-Shift-V, or right-click to paste 3 instances of the process group. Connect each of the 3 shape nodes to the shape process instances respectively. Merge the outputs of all group instances with the merge nodes. Select all the merge nodes, press F2 to rename them accordingly. Rectangle output, ellipse output, polygon output, and star output. Now we see all the shapes displayed on the screen. We will need a control to select which shape to show. Right-click the background node, and choose Edit Controls. Add a new control called Shape Type. Select the Combo control as the input control. Add 4 items to the list: rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and star. Click OK to confirm. And we now see a new User tab appears in the inspector. The control we just added is showing as a drop-down list parameter, where we can choose one of the 4 options we defined earlier. Select Rectangle Output node. Enter equals in the Blend field to enable simple expression input. Set the expression as shown here. This expression returns 1 if the shape type selection is 0, which means the first item, rectangle, is selected. Otherwise it returns 0, so that the shape is hidden. Select the expression, and press Ctrl-C to make a copy. Repeat the same step for other 3 shape output nodes. Modify the blend parameters with simple expressions. Paste the expression, and change the condition accordingly. For the ellipse output, the selection is 1. Polygon is 2. And star is 3. OK, now if we select the background node, and change the shape type selection in the User tab, the shape output also changes in the viewer. One thing you may have noticed is that the size of shapes are not the same as the first rectangle. Since all shape nodes have the same size control parameters, we will link these parameters to the ones in the rectangle node. Select the 4 nodes, so that they all appear in the inspector. Open the ellipse node parameters, enter equals for all layout control parameters to enable simple expressions. Click the Angles Add button and drag a whip to the rectangle label. Wait until it opens the rectangle's parameters. Continue, drag the whip to the rectangle's angle parameter, release the button. We're sent back the angle input of the ellipse node, and the expression is set to the rectangle's angle parameter. Repeat the pick whipping steps to link all the other parameters to the ones in the rectangle node respectively. Similarly, we connect all layout parameters in S-engine and S-star nodes to the rectangle node. OK, now if we choose a different shape type, the size is the same with the rectangle shape. When we change the parameters in the rectangle node, it also modifies the other shapes. There is one more node we want to add, is the Soft Glow node, so that we can add some glowing effects to our shapes. Select Star Output node, press Shift-Space to open the tool selection window. Find and add the Soft Glow node to the node tree. Change the gain to 0, so by default the glowing effect is disabled. To create a generator macro template, select all the nodes except the media out. Right-click and choose Macro. Create Macro. In the Macro Editor window, name the macro Essential Shapes Tutorial. Select the parameters we want to export for quick access in the inspector. Shape type from the background node. The size and layout parameters in the rectangle node. All controls from SJitter node, SGrid node, and SDuplicate node. Border control parameters from Shape Border node. Border color controls from Border color node. The shape color controls from the Shape color node. Sides parameter of the SEngen node. The points and depth control from the S-star node. And all controls from the Soft Glow node. Once all parameters are selected, choose Save as Group from the File menu. And save to the folder, Fusion. Templates, Edit, Generators, and Essential Generators. Close the macro editor, and go back to the Edit page. In the Effects panel, the newly created generator is now available for use. Drag to the timeline, and we now have the default star shape showing on the screen. Go to the inspector, we see lots of parameters. But without any grouping or separation, it's very difficult to use them to adjust shape settings. I will make another video to show the ways of organizing and group parameters, as we see in the template at the beginning of this video. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.